Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Monday, the 6th day of May 2024. It is Monday of the 6th week of Easter. It is the 37th day of the Easter season. So got that all together. Okay. So May the 6th. So after May the 4th and then Cinco de Mayo, which doesn't really celebrate anything that is truly about Mexican independence or anything else like that. Mexican Independence Day is September the 16th, but again, somehow it's become some whatever here in the United States. But after those days celebrating other things, we finally just have a regular day of Easter, May the 6th. So the 37th day of the Easter season. The interesting thing about the readings as they take a shift today is that we move from a third-person narration of the life of Paul to now kind of a first-person narration from Paul himself. And it's interesting because it seems to be Paul. Now, Luke is never ever said to be a companion of Paul on his journeys, so it's very strange. But it goes into a first-person plural, like we set sail from. Well, they set sail from. I forget the city, but they end up in Samothrace, which was it's another coastal city along the Aegean Sea in Greece. And why it's we and not Paul and Barnabas or whatever it is in that kind of third-person narration that we've had in the Acts of the Apostles prior to this. So this moment at which, again, Paul, perhaps, in speaking of him and his companions, kind of begins to narrate his own journey and his own experience for a moment, because then it's going to go back to the third person in a couple of days, narration again. But Paul kind of is giving us a first person view of what is happening, and it's a very simple passage today. Again, he ends up in Samothrace, or he departs from Samothrace. I can't remember which one it is, but anyway, he's another Aegean island, and there he meets a woman named Lydia, who is a dealer in cloth, and again, Paul seems to have been a cloth merchant or had some kind of experience with cloth and dyes and stuff like that, in addition to being a student of the Pharisees and a Pharisee himself or whatever. So Paul meets this woman, and perhaps their affinity for their career kind of brings them together. It is interesting, though, again, in ancient Greco-Roman society, women with power, women with prestige were few and far between. Generally, empresses, and things like that could be women of influence or perhaps other wealthy people. But here is a merchant woman who seems to own a company and seems to, again, have a household. And she listens to Paul and she wants to hear what he has to say, and she comes to believe it, and she and her household are baptized. Now, that's a very interesting kind of movement, within all of this, because in the patriarchal societies in Greco-Roman culture, the father, if something happened to him, it would happen to the entire family and the household. So it isn't just, again, the paterfamilias, deciding that this is what my family is going to do, but also the entire family. So if a father of a household becomes a Christian and is baptized, so too his family, and that would also mean his children to some degree, but then also servants, slaves, anyone else who lived under that roof would also become Christian. Well, again, in the patriarchal societies, sure, that's what can happen. But here we have Lydia, again, in this Greek coastal city, basically deciding that she and her household, not her husband's if she had one, but she and her household now become Christians. What more is it? Again, why is she mentioned specifically? That is constantly up for debate. Did she become a person who presided at the Eucharistic table after Paul left? Was she a deacon? Did she do anything else like that? It's always unclear. It's not as clear as Phoebe is, who is another person who is mentioned in the letters that Paul writes to various churches, who seems to have been a deacon. But Lydia, in her enigmatic kind of place in Acts of the Apostles, this woman of wealth, perhaps, this woman who had influence or who owned property and whatever it is, was able to understand what Paul was speaking and becomes a Christian because of what Paul was saying. And she directs her entire family to do the same. Did that leave her in a position of leadership in Samothrace or whatever city she lived in? It's unclear, but maybe possible. And again, to show the expansive nature of how the Christian movement changes people's perspectives on what it means, to possess a particular gender-identified role in society. Lydia seems to have been much more powerful than many women, perhaps, in the ancient world. In the gospel today, Jesus basically promises again to send the advocate, to send the Holy Spirit, because we are moving more and more towards the ascension and moving more and more towards the conclusion of the Easter season and Pentecost. Again, this advocate, this Spirit, again, who will help us to continue to proclaim and to continue the work that Christ gives us to do as believers, as followers of the mission that Christ initiates, in his earthly ministry. The thing is, those who think to destroy, the church, destroy those who witness to it, destroy us who witness to it, will never be successful, because again, it is the Spirit that guides. It's the Spirit that continues to push the church forward and the ministry forward. And the mission forward, even though it seems to fall upon difficult times and dark days. A source of hope and a source of confidence. Again, what Easter begins to build will continue to be built way past the Easter season, and that's something for us to kind of remember as we move closer and closer to the conclusion of the season. We never grow closer and closer to the end of the power and the influence of Easter in our lives. A blessed Easter continues, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.